And welcome you all back to District East Virtual Summer Experience. Boy, do we have an afternoon plan for you all. If you missed this morning, you just missed a heck of a morning, guys. We had learning some languages, learning Vietnamese with the councilwoman, learning arts and crafts with Miss Kelly, as well as learning Spanish with me. But now we have the amazing Chef D preparing an exquisite little dessert for us all. So, Chef D, how are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. I'm
Glad.
doing great. Okay, so I'm just setting up a little bit. So today I will be showing you guys how to make donuts out of canned biscuits. And these are the biscuits that I use. They were at Walmart. I think it was maybe 40 cents for the tube. Something very, very inexpensive, and it's really, really quick to do. So as you can see, I've already opened one can and I've prepped them. So I put my little donut holes inside, which save these little pieces. You can save them to actually make donut holes, which are delicious. And I also use them to test the temperature of my oil. I also have some that I've left with no hole because we're going to do something special with them after we fry them. So the first thing that we're going to do is make the glaze that goes on top of the donuts. So I have some powdered sugar right here, and we're going to use about 2 cups of 10x or powdered sugar. Just put it right into the bowl. In this little container, I have about a tablespoon of light corn syrup. So that will be it, the Karo syrup. I get as much of that in there. And what that does is it helps with the shine when it's finished, and it's going to help it dry a little bit. And then, of course, I just have some regular water. The water that I'm using is warm. I just find that it helps kind of get things together a little bit when the water is a little bit warmer. So I'm going to do a light stir. So I don't want to tell you how much water to use. And the reason why is because I don't want you to put too much. Depending on your house, sometimes if your house is a little bit more humid, then you may not need as much water. So I'm just going to put water in, probably about a tablespoon at a time, because powdered sugar really doesn't need that much water. We don't want you to make it too soupy. So here we go. We're going to add another tablespoon. Get that mixed around. So you can see that it's already starting to come together. We want it to be thick, but not so thick that the donuts won't adhere to the glaze. And I'm using a whisk, of course, to get that nice and mixed up. Let's see. So just on this consistency, I want just a tad bit more water just to loosen it up a little bit. And it's always important to make your glaze first, because once you put your donuts in, they're going to go really quickly. They're not going to take that long to get done. And you want them to be glazed when it's hot to help seal them in. So that's looking really good. I just, for my own sake, would probably add maybe another drop or two of water to this, because you want it to be nice and smooth. One more drop. There we go. You can add flavoring to this if you want to spice it up. You can also add cocoa powder to this to make chocolate glaze. All right, that looks perfect. So if you can see these beautiful little ribbons, it kind of folds back into itself. So I'm done with that. That's over there. So we are going to start frying. So we're going to take one of our little donut holes and pop them in. I know you might not be able to see, but I'm actually using chopsticks. You can use chopsticks, you can use a fork. Um, Anything that's not plastic, of course, the oil is very hot. So I can see right now that this little one is just about done. I'm going to turn them over, and then we're going to start adding in some of the bigger ones. So I am using fresh oil, and when you use fresh oil when you're doing this, your donuts may have a tendency to get stuck on the bottom, but that's okay. You can use your fork and just kind of move it around to loosen them up, and that's going to help them to fry evenly. So you got them going in. Can you guys see this? I can't tell. Zion, can you see really what I'm doing?
Yes, yes, we can definitely see. Not a problem.
Okay, awesome. So that little donut hole right there is done. So obviously I just pulled them out. Once your items start to turn brown, just flip them over. I have my oil right now set on a medium heat. You don't want it too high because they will turn brown and still not be done in the middle. So slightly medium to low heat is best to make sure that they actually cook all the way through. Okay. So now that I have them turned over, they're gonna actually start moving a lot faster. We're gonna go ahead and put the donuts in at this time. And don't worry at this point, I'm using a pan that's big enough to support the heat so that it doesn't cool my oil down too much. Because if you try to fry anything in oil that's not hot enough, they're gonna be greasy. And we definitely don't want that. So my donuts right now, the full ones, these are actually looking really good. They're nice and golden brown on both sides. So we can actually start to take them out. Now those are the ones that we're going to do something special with. So we're going to take them out and let them cool. And right now, our actual donuts, they can be turned as well. They're starting to get golden brown as well. So I'm going to turn them over and then I'll remove the others. All right. I have this cool little fry basket that helps get the oil off of the products really easy. It makes it easier to scoop them out. And I got this at Walmart. And I think it was only about $5 or $6, which is not expensive at all. All right, so I'm going to turn these donuts over. And now I'm going to add in the last three. And then I'm also going to add in our little donut holes. Now, I will say the learning curve to this is not putting in more than you can handle because they are going to be cooking. And if you're not used to it, just start out maybe 3 at a time because once you overfill it and it's time for them to turn or time for them to be taken out or time for them to be putting the icing, you're not really going to have time and you don't want to burn them. So these are moving pretty good. Okay, so the donuts now are done. So as stated, we want to make sure that we put these in the glaze while they're hot because they actually stick to the glaze better. So I have these three. I'm going to grab a plate. And we're going to take those donuts and dump them right into the glaze. But first, I'm going to, no, they're close, but not quite. So yes, they are hot. And I know you see me doing this with my hand, but I will caution you that they're going to be hot. I've been doing this for a while, so it's not as bad. But you're going to pop them in, just pop them right into your icing bowl and give them a quick turn so you can see that they're going to get covered in glaze. And just put them on a separate plate to let some of the glaze actually drain off. And right now, I see in my pot, it's time to turn over the others. Which is why I like using chopsticks for that. So even though I have one that may be done that has glaze on it, I still have my other one to use for the donuts themselves. So I'm going to take and pop in my little donut holes. And you can do them individually. You can stick them all together. With this particular dough, I try not to mess with it too much, so I won't take it and, reform it and try to make the donut hole into a donut. It's not that stable, but it still tastes really, really good. And the key with these is to not over fry them because you don't want them to be tough. You want them to be nice, crispy on the outside and soft in the middle. So the donuts at this point are done, so we're going to take them out and I'm going to glaze them just like I did the others. And then I have my little donut holes in there. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat off because I'm not going to fry anymore. I think we have enough for what I'm going to show you guys. So I'm going to stick one more in here. And we're going to make sure that he gets coated and glazed just like the others. And another thing that you can do with this is we used to make beignets. So if you want to be extra fancy, you could take them and instead of cutting a hole out of the middle, you can kind of cut them into squares or triangle shapes. That works really cool too. So then we take them while they're still hot. I'm going to pull these little donut holes once they're done. And we're going to cover them just like they would at Cafe du Monde in powdered sugar. So I have a little sifter. And that's it. You're going to go ahead and just sprinkle and cover them. I usually use a little spoon to help get a good amount of powdered sugar onto them. And that's it. And that is how you would make them if you were going to do beignets, which is one of my favorites. Okay, so now we're going to move this to the side, and then we're going to work on the last thing I was telling you about. Pull that out of the way. So these are the ones that we fried ahead of time, and we didn't punch a hole out of the center. And the reason why is because we're going to cut them in half, and then we're going to stuff them with fresh strawberries and whipped cream. I'm just going to pull it here. If you can, I don't think you can hear that, but it's so crispy and still really nice and soft in the center. Two. All right, so I'm going to put all of my tops on one end and then all of my bottoms on another. 1 second, I have to go get the strawberries. So these are the strawberries that I washed earlier and I cut them up and I added a little bit of granulated sugar to them. And then I just kind of squeeze them a little bit. I want to break it up. I want that juice, the strawberry juice. I need that flavor to come out. So we're going to take and add 1 spoon, maybe a little more, to each of the bottoms. And of course, you're doing this for yourself or for your family and friends, so you can stuff them however you want. And you can also use other fruit for that if you wanted to. And then we're going to add ready whip. Now, usually if I was doing this professionally, I would make my own whipped cream. But it's not necessary for this dish, and it tastes just as good. So, of course, we're going to give it a really good shake and make sure that it's pointed up. And now we're going to add our tops. And I added some whole strawberries just for the sake of making it look extra delicious. a little bit. And then we're going to take our powdered sugar and add a little bit to the top of that. And right about now is when I wish you guys could really try this. First of all, the smell is amazing. And then, of course, I already know what it tastes like, but I wish you guys could try it. So that is it. These are the 3 dishes that we could do. I'm going to pull all of them forward so you can get a chance to see them all. We've done them all with minimal ingredients. Literally like 3 dishes with 1 can, just the one of biscuits. I think there's only 10 biscuits in the can. There's only 10. So it's not even a dozen. So this is what we were able to create. So let me know if anybody has any questions.
Oh my goodness. Well, I must say that you got my taste buds going right now. That was definitely truly incredible, Chef. Thank you so much. It look amazing.
You're welcome. It was so quick. I was nervous that I wouldn't have enough prep time,
Yeah.
but as you can see, things go pretty quickly. It moved very nicely. So I was prepared.
Oh, so one of the questions we have for you is
Okay.
how does it how does it feel kind of baking? Like how does it just feel doing something that you love to do so much?
This is incredible. I mean, this totally was my dream since I was a little girl. And I will say, as an adult, I've tried to talk myself out of doing this a couple of times, but I still wind up going back to it.
Mhm.
And I'm passionate about it. I love it. I love the reaction when people eat my food. So I will probably always be a chef. Just hands down, this is going to be my business forever. I love it. I enjoy it.
Sounds amazing. Sounds amazing. Yes. We do have another question for you.
Okay.
Is there an alternative product that can be used instead of the powdered sugar?
Um, for what purpose? Maybe I should ask that. Is it an alternative for the glaze, or you just don't want to have the powdered sugar? I mean, you can also do this recipe with granulated sugar and cinnamon. You can do a cinnamon sugar on there. They actually taste they taste fantastic. Um,
Yeah, they're talking about the glaze.
but
That helps.
So for the glaze itself, this is just traditional donut sugar. I have never used another product, but of course you can substitute with honey. That would work as well, but just make sure that it's warm and they will stick as long as you do it when the donuts are hot.
Hmm.
You can use honey as well. I've never tried with syrup, which would make sense because they are biscuits. But normally I've only used powdered sugar to make this glaze. I haven't tried to make the glaze with any other ingredient.
Okay. Yeah, they were asking
Hopefully
like
that
more
helps.
pertaining because of possible health conscious reasons.
Of course. I mean, first of all, these are donuts. So, kind of we're going to draw the line a little bit right there, but definitely if you're looking more health conscious and less sugar, I would say use the plain powdered sugar, almost like the beignets, because you will be using less sugar than if you did it with a glaze.
Hmm.
That would help. And I mean, even if you wanted to, you don't have to completely cover the donuts in the glaze. You can do a drizzle on top, and you'll still have that effect with less sugar.
Oh, that sounds great. Thank you so much.
You're
And
welcome.
pertaining to the dish, is this a
Okay.
dish already how do you say? Like this is already made or did this idea come about? Like how did trying to get my words out right.
No, I will be honest. I have no idea how we came up with this, but I know a lot of families did it. I
Okay.
am one of 8 siblings. So this was something fun for us, and it was definitely something that we all loved. And even then, biscuits were even cheaper, I would imagine, when I was younger. And it was just something that was really simple, and it's things that we already had at our house. So we didn't have to go out and buy anything special. Minus, with making the glaze, obviously we weren't using Karo syrup, probably when I was 7 or 8, but it still worked, just plain powdered sugar and water. We would add vanilla to ours just to kind of spike up that glaze just a little bit. But it was just something that, I don't know, we just started making it. I honestly have no idea what the origin of this was, at least for my family. But
Mhm.
I know that a lot of other families do this all over the country, not just in the South. This is not just a Southern thing. I've met people up north that they've done the same, that they've figured this out. I mean, sometimes you can do this as a savory thing as well. I know a lot of people will take biscuit dough and make like mini pizzas out of them because they're still going to bake the same, which is a way to do a savory dish.
Mhm.
But at least for me and my house and my family, we've only made donuts out of them.
Wow. Very, very interesting. And pertaining to the amount of time that you took to make this exquisite dessert, was the time that you
Yes.
just took the actual total time, or what is the actual total time looking like for preparedness and actually making it?
So actual total time, I would say add another 10 minutes to this and then you're done. If you're going to do the actual donuts, you wouldn't even need to add 10 minutes, only 5 more minutes. The part that you didn't get to see was me actually putting the pan on the heat, adding the oil to it and turning it on. That's the only thing that you didn't get to see me do for the donuts. You saw me put them on the tray. I punched the holes in them. I fried them. I made the glaze. We dipped them, and then that was it. They were done.
Alrighty then. Sounds great. Sounds great. And so, uh, please, guys, ask as many questions as you possibly can, as our lovely chef is about to wrap up her session. So
Yes.
please ask as many questions as you can. And chef, is there anything you want to say to everyone that tuned into your session?
I just want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to show you something that you can do from home. Whether you are a young chef in the making or you're just a kid that likes to eat dessert, or this is something that you're looking to do for your family or your friends, it's really cool. And I'm going to try to keep bringing easy things for you guys to make, that it's not complicated, that it doesn't require you to have a culinary degree like I do. But just that you can pick something from your refrigerator that you already have and turn it into something that's awesome and delicious.
Well, thank you, thank you. And let's say that it's not in our refrigerator per se. What are the expenses
Okay.
like for the ingredients?
So to buy the Karo syrup, which you saw, I only used a tablespoon.
Mhm.
The cheapest one or the most cost efficient one, I believe it was like $2. And you can buy an off brand. It doesn't have to be the Karo brand to save a little bit more money. The biscuits themselves, I think I bought the 4 pack. It was less than $1.50 for 40. And you saw we only used 10. We only used one can. Um, the whipped cream, if you're going to do the strawberries, that one definitely is a little bit more. I think this can of whipped cream was three bucks at Rouse's, and the strawberries were about $3 a pound. Um, the last thing I had was I bought. Hold on 1 second. I bought this bag of powdered sugar. I think it's 2 pounds. I'm sure it's 2 pounds. Um, this was about $2. So, I was able to make all of these things for less than $10. The oil itself, you can buy a smaller. You don't have to buy like that gallon that you may have seen in the background for me. You only need enough to cover about 1 inch in your pan. And canola oil is one of the oils that I use it's pretty cost efficient. It's still less than 3.50. So for about $12 or less, including the tax, you can make all three of these dishes.
Wow.
This literally is everything that I've used. The whipped cream that's already done, the biscuits, the Karo, the powdered sugar, the strawberries, and of course the vegetable oil. That's it. That's all you need. And I
Wow.
would imagine that you have powdered sugar at home. You have, if you don't have the biscuits, that's really cost efficient. And the oil, most of the time you do have oil. So
Well,
I would say definitely less than $12. You can make any of these, and you can make 40 of them. You're not just gonna make 10.
mm, I get my sweet tooth going right now. Okay. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you. And we
you're
do,
welcome.
I think I asked you this question last week. We have the question again about your how often and how many do you make of the vegetarian dishes and bakeries and how that's looked.
Oh, so, I think one of the interesting things is most bakery dishes, they're already vegetarian or vegan. Minus, obviously, if you're going to use butter. For this dish, if I had not used any of the whipped cream, this dish would be definitely vegetarian. I would have to check the ingredients of the biscuits, but I would imagine that there's no animal product in these biscuits, um, so that they would be vegan. Like all of these dishes, this could all be vegan. It's all vegetable based,
Wow.
which is awesome.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Chef D,
You're very welcome.
for your skills, um, for the amazing, delicious treat any of our viewers can make at home.
Yes.
And I see a lot of the interesting, many of the people are asking. I'm gonna go ahead and inform you all that yes, Chef D does have a Facebook page.
I do.
It is at DeeLavigne 77. All right.
Yes.
Is her Facebook page, and you can view all of her delicious treats there, as well as,
Yep.
unfortunately, if I'm still correct, her bakery is still closed at the moment.
Yes, we are still closed, but we are this close to reopening. So we have a few more details to work out, and that's it. We will be a go, and I will make sure that I tell the world when we're open so that you all can come and order. And we're trying to include some online ordering just in the event that you can't make it down here. You could still order and possibly do a pickup or have delivery. So that's what we're working on right now.
Wow, that sounds wow. It's another sign I'll be ordering something very soon.
Yes.
All right, so thank you again, Chef. Um, I think that is it for all of our questions.
Yeah.
So,
Anytime.
is there any last minute words or anything you want to say before we head to our next session?
Nope. I think that's it. I am excited to be with you guys for 2 more weeks. So next week we will be doing something a little bit similar, but not quite, and just as delicious. That I can guarantee.
Okay, she loves to leave it a mystery, guys, so we're gonna leave it a mystery.
I do. Make you come back and see what you're gonna see something amazing every single time.
Right, right. All righty, well then, thank you again so much, Chef.
You're welcome.
And what we're gonna do now, ladies and gentlemen, that was so amazing, so delicious, and we're gonna go ahead and kick it over to Mr. Roche, attorney at law. Yes, you're
All right.
on.
All right. How's everybody doing?
We're doing
All
good.
right.
We're doing good. Thank you.
So I'm just going to introduce myself. My name is Leon Roche. Um, I am 37 years old. I'm from the West Bank. Um, I went to St. Arthur High School, and then I went to LSU for college. At LSU, I majored in political science. I got a bachelor's degree. After college, I then went to Loyola for law school. Well, actually, before law school, I was a substitute teacher for about a year, and then I went to Loyola for law school. Um, Finished up at Loyola, and then I went to the public defender's office, which is where I've been since. Um, and I've been practicing law for over 10 years at this point. I love what I do, and I'm going to tell y'all all about being a lawyer and more about what I do. um, so, a big question a lot of people ask me is, what made you want to be a lawyer? So, for me, you know, to be honest with you, the reason I wanted to be a lawyer is because I was taught at an early age that at some point I would probably have some kind of run-in with the police, and I wanted to be able to know my rights when that time came. And just to kind of bring it home, I'll tell you a little story. When I was 15, I went to the West Jeff John Ehret football game. Me and a friend of mine, we took the bus, we went to the game, and we watched the game. When the game was over, we took the bus, we came back home. So my friend got off first. He went to his house, so I was walking to my house. And as I'm walking to my house, it's nighttime, it's dark outside, and I had maybe 2 blocks to go to my house. And as I'm walking down the street, a police car pulls up, it swarms up. The police officers jump out, and they come up to me and they tell me, get against the car. And so I'm like, what's going on? I'm just walking home from the game. I haven't done anything wrong, but my mother also taught me, do what the police say, don't resist, and always say yes, sir, no, sir, and to keep your hands out your pocket. So they come out the car, they tell me get against the car, and the officer, he was like, there was a robbery in the area and you fit the description. And so I was like, whoa, at this point, I'm like, I know I didn't commit a robbery. I'm just coming from the game. But to the officer's credit, he did tell me, he said, now, if it wasn't you, you don't have anything to worry about. So I'm like, well, I know it wasn't me. So they searched me, they had me against the car. And I'm pretty much in front of my house at this point. I was about to turn in the driveway, but they pat me down and everything. They don't find anything. And so then, they get over the intercom, over their little dispatch. They say, oh, he has earrings. And so at that point, the officer, he checks, he looks at me, and he sees I don't have earrings, and he says, okay, you can go. And so I just tell you that story just to say, I was, terrified. I know I didn't commit a robbery, but I was being detained. I didn't know what was going to happen, and it just kind of re-solidified for me the fact that I felt like I really need to know my rights and I need to know the law, so that when I have these kind of interactions, I'll be able to defend myself. And I took that a step further. And of course, I also want to defend people, and especially people that look like me and come from, the area I come from. So I'll tell you that story just to give you a little background introduction of why I went into law. So the type of law that I practice, I'm a public defender. What that means is I defend people who cannot afford to pay for an attorney. What you have to understand is that if you are arrested, if you have the unfortunate luck of being, well, not luck, but the unfortunate situation of being arrested, everybody hears about the Miranda rights or the Miranda warnings. That's where the officer will tell you, you have a right to an attorney, you have a right to remain silent, and if you can't afford an attorney, they'll appoint one for you. So I'm the attorney that they would appoint for you if you couldn't afford one. In New Orleans, 85% of people that are arrested need a public defender. So, the large majority of people that are arrested in the city of New Orleans need a public defender. That's a lawyer that will be appointed to represent them by the court if they can't afford to pay for an attorney. And yes, public defenders are real attorneys. We practice law. We do everything private attorneys do. We just get appointed clients as opposed to getting paid individually from a person. So as a public defender, I've represented all kinds of cases. I've had people with misdemeanors, marijuana, maybe simple thefts, maybe burglaries, trespassing, I've also had more serious cases, like robberies, murders, assaults, batteries, you name it. I've pretty much probably had a case surrounding it or about it at this point. Um, but at the public defender's office, we provide representation for people who can't afford an attorney, and I take my job with great pride because I get to stand up and fight for people, and I get to give a voice for people, who to speak for someone who can't speak for themselves, and to defend someone when they're in a very trying time means a lot to me, and I take it very serious. So I want to talk to you a little bit about um, what is it to be a lawyer. Um, So a lawyer, the book definition is a person who practices or studies the law. That's the book definition of a lawyer. So what does that mean practically? Well, to me, that means as a lawyer, you are an advocate, which means you take a cause and you take a position and you defend that position. Uh, in most cases, you have a position and you make an argument to try to back your position. Um, so like by me being a defense attorney, when someone's arrested, I take that person's story and I tell their story. Now, on the other side of the fence, you have the prosecutor. They work for the state, and the prosecutor, they are trying to prosecute the person that's arrested, and so they take their position, which is, normally the police have wrote up a warrant or they have a reason why they've arrested you, and the state will take their position to try to prosecute, a citizen. And the thing about law, y'all, is there's all different types of law. Okay, like me in particular, I'm a criminal defense attorney, but there's civil law, like the guys you see on TV with the Juan LaFonta, make it bounce and all that, or Greg Carter, or John Fuller. So civil attorneys, they they sue, like car injuries, maybe like over detention. A civil attorney, like civil rights, things like that. A civil attorney, they kind of bring lawsuits, and then as a counter, other attorneys defend people who bring lawsuits. Remember, there's always two sides with the law. There's always one person who's a proponent for something, and then there's another person who's an opponent. So there's always this conflict. There's always this tension with law, and normally you have the judge. The judge is kind of like the referee. The two lawyers are advocating for their cause, and the judge is the referee who kind of, if there's a dispute, or if a decision needs to be made, the judge steps in, and the judge, he has the final say on what goes on. But yeah, just other different types of law too. There's like family law. Like if you have a divorce, or there's successions, like when people die and they have to distribute their wealth, or their property. There's admiralty lawyers. There's all kind of lawyers. So it's really whatever your interest is. There's probably an area of law, international law, whatever your interest is. There's probably an area of law for your particular interest. So you may be asking, okay, well, how do you become a lawyer? So I'll tell you a little bit about how you become a lawyer. Well, you have to go to law school. And in order to get to law school, you have to take a test called the LSAT. And here's the thing with the LSAT. You want to make sure that you do the best you can the first time you take it, because they average your scores. See, I didn't know this. I'm a first generation college student, so it's a lot of stuff I had to teach myself that I didn't know. And I thought you could just take the LSAT as many times as you want, and they just keep your highest score. But then I learned that they average your scores, and this matters because you have to get a certain score on the LSAT in order to get into law school. So, I wished I had known that. I would have really prepared really hard before I took it the first time, uh, and probably did a lot better. But that's okay. I ended up taking it twice, but I took some preparatory courses, the Princeton Review, and that helped me out a lot. So the first thing is you have to go to law school if you want to be a lawyer, and you've got to take the LSAT. Once you take the LSAT, you do well on that. Then you apply to different law schools, and then, God willing, you'll get accepted. Um, and then once you get into law school is it's no joke, okay, folks. Law school is rough, but most things in life that are worth having or accomplishing, they don't come easy. So it's a lot of reading. It's a lot of reading old cases to see how the courts handle situations. A lot of writing. It's intense. But you can do it if you're determined. You can do it. And so after the bar exam, so after law school, once you complete law school is normally 3 years. You can also take a night program, and you can do it in maybe 4 or 5. But once you complete law school, the next big hurdle you have to be a lawyer is the bar exam. And so the bar exam is an exam that each state has their own bar that you have to take to get barred. And see, I'm barred to practice law in Louisiana, but I'm not barred to practice law in, let's say, Texas or Mississippi, because there's each state has its own certain nuances and laws, and so you have to be barred in each state that you want to practice in. And in order to get barred, you have to take the bar exam. And the bar exam is a test that they give, law students from law school. And if you pass the bar exam, then you've got one final test you have to pass, and that is the character and fitness test. Because they will do a character and fitness test, which means, they want to make sure that, that you have a clean record, or that, that you haven't been in trouble, or things of that nature. And there's a board, they make a determination on if they'll allow you to pass the character and fitness, and you also have to take a written test called the NPRE. But so once you complete that, then the next step is you get sworn in, okay? And I've got a little picture here just to show y'all this was me when I graduated from Loyola. That was when I got my JD, and we had a little party. This was my family. This is my family. That is my mom, my dad, my sister. They all was there. And this is me when I got sworn in at the Supreme Court. Y'all can see. And just one more, that was me right there. I was, trying to get my pose on, but that was me getting sworn into the Supreme Court. And so, all right, so to go to law school, remember, you have to take the LSAT, you have to go to law school, you have to take the bar exam, you've got to do the character and fitness test, and then after that, you can be barred and you can be an attorney. So I know a lot of folks might be saying, well, Mr. Roche, that, is it expensive, or, like how, look, y'all, I come from, I say this, I come from the upper lower class. All right. Like I said, I'm a first generation college student. I didn't have a trust fund. I didn't have, a bunch of money in a bank account or anything. I pretty much financed my law school off of loans, and the thing is, you can do it. You can definitely do it. If you have the determination and the will and the drive, nothing can stop you. God willing, you can do it. There's all kind of aid out there. You can get loans, you can get grants, you can get financial aid. I think y'all youngsters do stuff like what's this, PayPal or something now? I don't. They didn't have all that when I was when I was going through. But there's ways you can do it. And I'm sure members of your family and your community will support you because everybody will be proud of you and will want to support you with that kind of endeavor. Um, and here's the thing, when I applied for Loyola, I had cornrows. Okay, y'all see my hair. Okay, I got braids. All right, so I was thinking, man, these people not gonna let me like, Loyola wanted to see a picture of you, with your application. Okay, and so I was on the fence. I was like, I don't know if I should send a picture of myself because I figured when they saw my hair that I wouldn't get admitted. But to Loyola's credit, here's another picture. I don't know if y'all can see that, but this was me when I was a 1L, and I have braids in it. I don't know if you can tell, but I've got cornrows, all right? And so, Loyola, they accepted me with cornrows. They accepted me the way I looked. And I appreciate them for that. They gave me a chance, and I've never forgotten my community or my people, and I've fought for them ever since. And that's why I'm in the job I'm in. People ask me all the time. They say, Leon, why don't you go be a private attorney? But I said, no, I'm happy being a public defender because I defend people who cannot afford to pay for an attorney, and I give them the same type of representation as though they have paid thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for an attorney. And that makes me feel good. I can sleep at night because I know that I gave my all for any case I have. I've fought with everything I've had. I've given it my all. So I know when I go to sleep at night, I can sleep comfortably. I don't sit in my bed thinking, man, should that guy have taken this deal? Should he have went to trial? Should I have told him this or that? I sleep very well at night because I give it 100% in my job, and I fight for all of my clients, no matter what they're charged with. They could, and some people are like, oh, well, how do you represent people charged with crimes like that? Well, I don't pass judgment. Y'all, my job is to be an advocate and to fight for my client with everything I have within the bounds of the law. And I don't pass judgment. I feel people will get judged. Me personally, I think you'll get judged when that time comes. But for here on earth, I do everything I can to fight for my client, to represent him to the best of my ability. And most lawyers I know do the same. And so, you can do it. Folks, you can do it if you've got the drive and the determination. I'm telling you, the sky is the limit for you, and there's all different types of areas of law you can go into, and it's really just whatever your passion is or whatever your pleasure is, So
Yeah, well,
I
thank you
don't
so
know
much,
if anyone.
Roche, right there. We appreciate the lesson that you just provided us with, the advice you just provided us with. And we do have a few questions for you, if that's okay to ask you.
Yes, that's good.
One of the questions is basically your approach, your philosophy. We want to know that approach and philosophy you go to representing and trying to win a case. Is it the same, or does it vary depending on the case?
Okay, well, cases are complicated. It depends on what you define as a victory. Sometimes you might want to try to get a case dismissed like real early before anything happens on it. Sometimes you have to go to trial, and you might have to present a case to a jury, and you're hoping that you get a not guilty. If you're a defense attorney like me, if you're the prosecutor, you're hoping you get a guilty. And then a lot of the work I do is with plea deals and with plea bargains. Most of my cases I'm able to resolve with a plea deal where it's a favorable outcome for the client and a favorable outcome from the state. And, so there's all different types of approaches of how how you attack a case. But the ultimate goal is to try to get the best result for the client. And sometimes that could be a dismissal, that could be less jail time, that could be probation, or it could be a not guilty out of trial. If you trial is like the Super Bowl for attorneys. It's a lot of things that go on before you actually get to a trial. Trial is like the last resort kind of thing.
Okay. Good to know. I am a newborn to this. I am learning myself as well, a newborn.
Yeah.
Um, Another question we have for you is, basically, is this for you in particular? Is this more of a job or more of a lifestyle? Like this is your life instead of just this you're being your job.
Well, I guess it's both, you know. I mean, I do work long hours. I work a lot. So, and I'm always talking about my cases. I'm always thinking about angles to attack the case. You know, I know my clients' names by heart. You know, I mean, you know, I don't know them as a case number. I know them as like Mr. Brumfield, you know, Mr. Alexander, you know, Mr. Donovan. You know, I know their names, and uh, so I guess it's both. You know, it is a lifestyle in the sense that my life is centered around my job and around, you know, being a lawyer. So I guess it is I'd say both. Yeah.
And do you feel that that definitely that as I know at times this might be a little over exaggerated or may not, but that time spent throughout law school, is that time really worth it to get to where you're at right now?
Okay. I think 100% without a doubt that it was worth it. Um, the reason I say that is even though I had to take out loans and I have student loans I have to pay back, um, I have a I have a nice job. I mean, I love my job. Um, you know, I, I get paid, you know, I get a decent salary. I'm able to make a nice living. Um, so it is definitely worth it. And just the joy that I get in my job is, you know, it's not all about money. You know, there's areas of law, you know, there's some people, you know, you can go to corporate law if you want to make millions, you know, go to corporate law or go to, you know, admiralty or so there's different types of, you know, law. It depends on what your passion is, but my passion is to fight for people. And, I love it, you know, so it was definitely worth it for me. I would do it again in a heartbeat. And, yeah, so I think it is worth it.
Good to know. Great to know right there. Let's see if you have any questions for you. If you want to say, if you have something like that you want to say to everyone, uh, because unfortunately your time is about to be up, unfortunately. So if you have anything else you want to say to everyone, please go ahead and say it now.
Uh, well, I just want to tell everyone that, you know, you can do it. You know, I don't want you to feel like, oh man, you know, people say lawyer and doctor, and you think, oh man, there's no way I can do that, but you can do it. You know, you really can do it if you want to put in the work and the time. Uh, you know, nothing can stop you but yourself. You know, and people will support you. Uh, so, you know, sky's the limit for you. Keep up the good work, and here's what I do before I go. I did want to show everybody one thing. Okay, walk with y'all. Y'all walk with me. Okay, we're gonna just show y'all one last thing here. Okay, y'all just indulge me here. So so you asked me if it was worth it.
Froze. Okay. Think he's froze. Mm. Wow. Oh, well, we lost him, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, unfortunately. Wait. Oh, there he is.
Okay, huh?
You good?
Oh yeah, all right.
So we missed everything of what you showed us. It started buffering and started freezing, so we missed it all.
You serious?
Yeah.
Wait. All right, let me see if I can try. You want me to try one more time?
Let's try it one more time. If not, you'll just have to tell us what it is.
All right, let's see. Can y'all still see?
Yeah.
Right, I'm just gonna walk. Well, that there's my car in the driveway, y'all. That you asked me if it was worth it. It
Oh,
was
she.
worth it to it was worth it to me, all right? All right.
Well, thank you so much. And also, ladies and gentlemen, we do have Judge Hunter on with us as well.
Thanks, Leon. See, man, and Leon, thanks for appearing today. I'm sure everyone appreciated your contributions and what you had to say. Let me tell you guys about Leon. Look, I selected Leon because he's one of the best attorneys that has appeared before me. And I'm not just saying that because we went to the same high school. But Leon is conscientious. He's professional. He's eminently qualified, and he has represented his clients adequately and thoroughly as much as he can with the limited resources that he has. So I am proud of him. I think he's making a great contribution to the community, and I look forward to great things from him.
Thank you, Judge. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, if that is it, ladies and gentlemen, you don't have any more questions. Uh, we do thank Mr. Roche for coming on and speaking to us.
All
Uh,
right.
thank you so much.
All right, y'all take care.
Thank you. And so, actually, hold on a second for me, you all. Well, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but what we're gonna go ahead and do now is we're gonna go ahead and kick it over to the lovely Victoria with her amazing pets. So if we can, Victoria, are you there?
Hi.
There we go.
Yes, I am here. And I do have my friends for you today. So someone from Iran is calling me. I don't think that's necessary right now. So yes, I am going to show you guys my snakes today. Hold on, the lighting is not working. One moment. All right. So, hi everyone, Victoria Lewandowski. I am the Economic Development Liaison for Councilwoman Wynn, and I am also a very avid pet lover. So, last session, I was able to show you guys my 4 dogs, and this time I am showing you my 3 snakes. So, this is Nova. She is a ball python. She is about 4 feet long, I'd say. She's pretty slow moving. She ate yesterday, so she's like very chill. And it's actually interesting how I ended up with them. So, one second. There we go. So, Nova is probably about 8 years old, but it's kind of hard to tell with most snakes. For some snakes, rattlesnakes, for example, you can tell how old they are by how many rattles they have. With other snakes, it's kind of difficult to tell what their age is. So with ball pythons, and unfortunately ball pythons are They're really, really common. They're often bred as pets. And that's actually, Nova was as well. She was bred, I think, here in Louisiana. One of my friends actually adopted her, or one of my friends bought her after she had been abused and given back to the breeder. So let me turn her over real quick. You'll see right where my finger starts here. You see her belly, you can see the scales on her belly. And then you see here it gets kind of strange. Someone bought her, cut her open, and brought her back to the breeder. Some kind of weird science experiment, I'm certain. But, you know, it's of course not okay to hurt animals. We want to make sure that no one does. But the breeder did not know how to take care of her, so they called my dad, who actually kind of has his own snake rescue. And my dad called me because she was closer to New Orleans. So I have had Nova for probably about 4.5 years now. And she's gotten a lot bigger since I've had her. She was pretty small. She was kept in a small tank. So that's actually a cool fact for you guys to know. For the most part, like not 100% of the time, but for the most part, reptiles, snakes, turtles, lizards, things like that, they will only get as big as the tank you put them in. So if you keep them in a very small tank, they will regulate their eating. They will not get too big as to outsize the space that they are in. So Miss Terry, who is our chief of staff, she has a turtle that she keeps in kind of a smaller tank because it's a tortoise actually, and it would get really, really big if she put it in a much bigger tank. So she keeps him in a smaller one to keep him relatively normal sized so that she can take proper care of it. And so I do similar things with the snakes. Nova is in a 30-gallon tank. Snakes always need food and water. And so that's one of the most important things. I do see Dee has asked the question, how do you play with or enjoy snakes? So we'll kind of get into this a little bit more, but I ended up with snakes because I grew up around snakes. My dad's first job, he grew up in Baton Rouge. His first job was actually catching snakes in the canals in Baton Rouge and delivering them to LSU, where they did a lot of water testing and animal testing on the snakes out there. And I mean, this was years ago, so that was common practice then. But so his first job was working around snakes. And through that, he kind of grew a love for them. So for me, a lot of it is about empathy and compassion and taking care of something. So of course, Nova, especially being bred in captivity, you know, she never lived outside. She never learned how to hunt for herself or catch her own food. Especially living in captivity. I apologize. I had a missed call. Especially living in captivity, you know, they rely on humans to survive. So for me, it's about not wanting the animals to die. I do not participate in any type of breeding of any of my animals. I don't think it's ethical to breed in captivity. However, a lot of people do, unfortunately. And so 2 of the ones that I'm going to show you today were actually bred in captivity. One was wild caught but injured. So let me put Nova up. I'm actually going to grab the next one, but I did want to kind of to answer your question a little bit more, Dee. So I think snakes have feelings. I really do feel, you know, kind of returned love from them at times, especially with the last one I'll show you. Her name is Kenna, and I've had her for 19 years. So, of course, you know, every animal shows its affection differently. And just like people show their affection differently. And that's okay. So Nova, for example, she really, really loves my husband. Anytime he walks in the room that she is in, she will bring her head up to the top of the tank and she'll start licking and just pay attention to him. She really likes him for whatever reason. And, she makes sure he knows she's there and draws attention to herself to get his attention. So you can pet them, you can hold them, of course you have to be very gentle, but I do feel compassion and empathy for animals, and I do think they return that as well. So let me grab the next one. One moment. There we go. I was just about to ask Diane to unmute me. I can't unmute myself, which I didn't know. All right, so this is Nyla. She is my smallest snake, my skinniest snake. She is a California king snake. She's longer than Nova. She's about 5.5 feet long. But she's much skinnier, you can see. She's probably only about as round as a 50-cent piece, maybe even less. So she's a California king snake, and you can't really tell by the color on the computer screen, but she is actually purple and gold. So she's called a ruby eye lavender king snake, and she's really lavender and gold. So her story is she was someone's pet, so she was bred in captivity. Oftentimes when snakes are bred in captivity for their coloring or their patterns. And so unfortunately with her unique coloring, that does lead to a lot of breeding of these types of snakes. And they're very common in the wild as well in California. And she had an owner that unfortunately his home burned down. He had to move into an apartment, and the firefighters actually pulled her tank out of the fire, her whole tank out of the fire. One moment. And then the apartment he was moving into, the landlord would not let him keep the snake. So he gave her, same thing, gave her to a rescue that called my dad, and then she ended up with me. She ended up with me mostly because she has an attitude and didn't get along with the other snakes at my parents' house. And she bit my mom in the face. She did not like her messing with her. So that's actually a cool thing to talk about. Let me grab a sheet of paper. All right. So there is kind of a stigma about snakes and kind of a misunderstanding about snake bites. All right. So to preface, none of my snakes are venomous. All 3 are non-venomous. And sorry, she was sliding off my lap. So there are more non-venomous snakes in Louisiana than there are venomous. So venomous snakes, when they bite, they have fangs. That's what everyone thinks of when they think of a snake bite. They think of fangs. So pretend this is fangs, all right? So with a venomous snake, the snake will bite you. You'll have 2 puncture wounds where their fangs are. With a snake like this, if it bites you, They actually have very different teeth. They do not have fangs because they're known as constrictors. So instead of poisoning their prey, they actually constrict their prey. They have oh, she's messing on my computer now. They have tiny rows of teeth. So let's see. So her bite is more like that. She's got tiny rows of teeth on the top and the bottom. If you've ever had your finger pricked to, for example, like check your blood sugar, you know, they do a very quick little prick at the end of your finger. That's what her bites feel like. And that's all three of them. That's what their bites feel like. So when snakes eat, they can actually eat something that's much bigger than the size that they are. So she ate yesterday too. She's actually got a couple lumps where the mice are. But snakes can unhinge their jaw. So for example, when you open your mouth, you can only open it so wide because your jaw keeps it locked in place. You know, you can try it now. You can only go so far. That's right. So you can only go so far. Whereas snakes, it's like there's a little hook here. They can actually unhook it and open their jaw even wider to accommodate eating larger prey. So of course there is a limit. You know, another common misconception about snakes is snakes eat humans and things like that. And that is incredibly rare. Most of the snakes that were ever large enough to eat humans are extinct. They were kind of part of the dinosaur era. And those size snakes, frankly, don't really exist anymore due to deforestation and things like that that affect their habitat. So for the most part, you've got smaller snakes because of hunting, because of skinning and things like that. So let me put her up really quickly. I'm actually going to show you a piece of snake skin, and then I will show you my big baby Kenna. So one moment.
Just thought to let you guys know this is incredible. Okay, absolutely incredible. Makes me want a snake actually.
Snakes are awesome. So another common misconception about snakes is that they are slimy. Snakes are not slimy unless they're wet. Maybe if they're wet. Snakes are not slimy. So I want to show you some snake skin. All right, I don't know if I'm going to be able to really get it super clear on here. You see the individual scales, right? So they are the same size as the scales on her body. All right, those are the scales on her back. And then these, I think I have a better piece here. And then they have bigger scales on their belly. So the snake I'm going to show you next, her scales are actually a lot more clear because her colors are so distinct. But then, that one's not going to work. They have big scales on their tummy. And you may be able to see, you can see the small ones here. It looks like bubble wrap almost. Then they have these longer ones on their stomach. And so when you see a snake skin, the snake is actually getting bigger. So after a snake eats, a snake will start off this big. It eats and it stretches a little, and it eats and it stretches a little, and it gets bigger and it gets bigger. And then its skin, if say, for example, with your arm, if it's getting bigger and bigger, you're pulling the skin apart, right? So what snakes do is they actually shed the outer layer of their skin, and then their new skin is stretchier. So that new skin fits them better. That's how they grow. So let me get you my biggest baby, Kenna, and I will show you and talk about her. Give me just a minute. All right, here is my biggest baby, Kenna. I have had her for 19 years. She is about 21 or 22 years old. So she's had a pretty long lifespan. I'm only 26. She's almost as old as me. So she is what's known as an eastern speckled king snake. These are actually super common in New Orleans and in Louisiana. They are black with yellow spots, which helps them camouflage. I'm not sure how, because I don't know what they're crawling through that's black with yellow spots, but they are pretty difficult to see in the grass. And she is also non-venomous. She is getting ready to shed. Like I said, her skin is stretching out, and you can tell, I don't know if you can see it here, her skin is kind of milky. Like you see between the speckles should be black, but her skin is kind of milky. So what they're doing is there's fluid between her new layer of skin that's growing in and her old layer of skin that she's going to shed. So there's fluid in there. And then what she does is she curls up in a ball. She soaks and soaks and soaks, absorbs all this moisture into her skin, and sheds it right off. So Kenna actually still has some scars from when I caught her 19 years ago at my family home in Greensburg. I'm just going to find where they are. So even though she got these scars all those years ago, a lot of them have completely faded from shedding her skin, almost like we do. You know, when you get older and a scar fades. So the same thing, because snakes are shedding their skin, their scars fade as well. So she has one right here. You can see kind of it's gray. Her speckles aren't as clear and her scales aren't as uniform. So Kenna was actually hit by a lawnmower and ran over, not on purpose. My dad was mowing the lawn and he didn't see her. She was deep in the grass. He hit her, and then I nursed her back to health, and I've had her for 19 years. So Kenna is very fond of sitting on my head. That is one of her favorite activities. I can't really show a picture on here because I can't show my screen, but when she gets ready, I promise she'll get up there. Does anyone have any questions yet?
Yes, Zion does. So,
Mm-hmm.
I remember back in high school, like one of my teachers had a pet snake, and he used to allow us to hold them and kind of play with them a little bit. But before I touched it, I was very fearful of, it possibly biting me or it attacking me or doing something. Is
Mm-hmm.
there a way to train snakes to do that, or do they just normally? Because it's a very, like as you mentioned, there's a very big misconception that they
Mm-hmm.
automatically bite you or they attack you or things of that nature. So like, is there a way to train it, or they just naturally don't bite as talked about?
So no, they definitely will bite if frightened. That is, it's a defense mechanism. Just like we will yell, they can't yell. If you're scared of something, you have to find a way to convey your feelings. So there are different ways. And so one of the big things, like I'll tell you, Kelly, one of my coworkers, sent me this video the other day of someone getting bitten by a snake. And what I saw, the problem is you never want to reach directly into a snake's face. All right. You would never want to reach directly there. So especially when I'm picking her up, because she's so long, Kenna is 6.5 feet long, by the way. Because she is so long, I will often pick her up from her midsection so that she can adjust, or her tail. I will pick her up not near her head where she can see that it's me. She knows, she is very familiar with me after 19 years. And there definitely are other things you can train snakes. Chill, lady. She's very active right now. She wants to move around. So one of the things that I've trained her is I will scratch on the top of her tank when it is time to eat. I will let her know, like, hey, it's feeding time or attention time, if I kind of warn her to let her know I'm going to take her out of the tank, just so that she won't be surprised. You definitely want to mitigate the surprise, because that's when an animal gets scared, that's when it reacts. And that's dogs, cats, snakes, horses, everything. You just have to make sure that you're being safe, and you're also, kind of letting the animal know what you're about to do. So I did see Dee asked, how do you tell how old? So that's kind of what I was saying earlier, is you really can't. I'm sure there's some way to determine how old they are, but it would probably require tests, like blood tests maybe, or something like that. And I have not done that on any of my snakes. That's, Kenna, I've had her for 19 years, but she was about 8 inches long when I found her. And so based on kind of their growth chart, I'm estimating she was about 2 years old. There's no surefire way to tell, but there is a surefire way to tell the gender of a snake. So one second, because I just noticed I didn't put the lid back on the tank of one of the others. So with snakes, you can tell whether they are a boy or a girl based on their tail. All right, so you see, she doesn't want me to uncurl her too. But you see, you can kind of see it this way as well. You see how her tail is like really fat, really fat, really fat, and then suddenly like comes to a very quick end. Well, you can tell that she is a female because of that. If it's a male, they will actually have a much longer tail. Everything will go very, very gradually to the very end. And that is to store their anatomy. So you can tell a snake's gender based on that. There's another common misconception, which you may be able to see her eyes. There are a couple of other common misconceptions about snakes in Louisiana. One of them is the shape of their eyes. So non-venomous snakes in Louisiana only, this is not everywhere, but in Louisiana only, actually have round pupils. So you can see she has round eyes, but her eyes are so dark you may not be able to see the pupil as well. Maybe there you can see a little. So in Louisiana, non-venomous snakes have round pupils. Venomous snakes have cat eye pupils. All right, so we've got non-venomous. So non-venomous snakes will have round pupils like that, like humans. Venomous snakes will have kind of cat eye pupils. And that's only in Louisiana, or really only in the United States. It's mostly in other countries like the rainforest and places like that where it gets a little variable. And then another common misconception is head shape. So all right. So another one where they say if you're looking at a snake, you can tell the difference in Louisiana. So non-venomous snakes actually have a round head shape, which you'll be able to see from her. Her head is kind of round from the top, and it just kind of makes a circle. Whereas venomous snakes' head shapes in Louisiana are more spade shaped. So that is not 100% accurate in Louisiana. They do have a lot of non-venomous snakes that will imitate venomous snakes they'll puff air in their cheeks, they'll go and try to make their head spade shaped to keep predators away if they think they're venomous. So it's not 100%, but it is, it's kind of a good check. if you're just fine, if you happen upon a snake. Any other questions at the moment? I know we only have a couple more minutes.
A rule or a law against having owning venomous snakes?
What'd you say?
Is there like a law or something against owning venomous snakes, or it's
No.
a oh wow.
No. So my father actually has a number of venomous snakes. He has a timber rattlesnake, a copperhead, a cottonmouth.
Mm,
Yeah, I think those are the only venomous snakes he has right now.
wow.
And my dad, again, most of those are rescues. A lot of them were rescued from like unsafe situations. Someone would call and say, "Hey, there's a rattlesnake. I'm going to kill it if you don't come get it." And my dad would go get it. So he does a lot of relocation, but only those that cannot be relocated are the ones that we end up keeping. One second. She's crawling all up under the table. And then I do see Dee's question. I know you said a snake would only grow as big as the tank it's in. If they've been kept in a small size for years, can they grow larger if they're put in a large tank? So yes, they can. Snakes are pretty much always growing, similar to humans. So hold on. She's getting up under the table. She's very adventurous, likes to crawl around. But I also know she's probably ready to go up. I told you they all ate yesterday. But another good thing to know about Kenna's type of snake and king snakes in general is they actually eat venomous snakes. They will mark out their area. Snakes will musk, so they'll emanate this really, really strong kind of stinky smell. And they'll mark their territory, kind of like dogs do. And then they will keep all snakes other than themselves out of that area. And if you think about it, a snake is a perfect meal for another snake because a snake is long and skinny. Another snake is long and skinny. It'll fit right in its stomach. So a snake is a perfect meal for another one. And king snakes like Kenna actually take care of the venomous snakes in their area. So they keep humans safe.
Wow. And so what is the eating pattern looking like, the eating habits? Like is
Yeah,
it
good question. Give me 1 second because my dog is deciding. 1 second, the councilwoman is calling me.
well you all while she takes that call, when you get a call from the councilwoman, you gotta pick up the phone, okay? While she's answering that call, I hope you guys are enjoying this wonderful, amazing session by Victoria. And, well, it looks like she's back now.
There we go. Okay, what was your question, Zion? Your
Basically,
final question?
kind of that,
Oh, eating habits. That's what it was. So it kind of depends on the snake. Some snakes like to eat more frequently. Some snakes don't. So Kenna, for example, eats more frequently. She's much larger than the others. She is about, and I know it's hard to tell because she's black, but she's about this big around. So she's about, I'd say 2 inches across, 2 inches wide. You know, she's pretty big, and she's 6.5 feet long. So she eats both more than the others and kind of more frequently than the others. So yesterday she actually ate 4 large mice. Each of the other 2 had 2 mice. So she's eating double what they're eating. And then they eat frequency wise about every 2 weeks. And this kind of goes back to the training. So my snakes talk to me. They tell me when they're hungry. Kenna will go up to the top of her tank and start trying to draw attention to herself when she's getting hungry. My mother and I always say we have the snake sense because the snakes will tell us when they're hungry. My husband doesn't hear it, but it's okay. And so, yeah, that's kind of her training. She will let me know when she's ready for attention, when she's ready to eat. when she needs more water or wants fresh water. Like, I think a lot of communication doesn't have to be verbal to be understood. You know, if you see someone maybe with their arms crossed standing in the corner, you know, kind of leave me alone, or I don't want to be talked to, or maybe they do need someone to talk to. It can go either way. But a lot of that is reflected with animals as well, based on their behavior and especially your exposure to their behavior. Don't just walk up to a random dog doing something that your dog is doing because you think you know what it wants or you think it might want to be pet or anything like that. You know, you always have to be wary, but growing accustomed to a pet, spending a lot of time with them, learning their body language and their habits can be really important. So I'd say, you know, even though they can't communicate verbally like dogs can, they can't bark or growl or anything like that, you can definitely learn by the body language of both people and animals what they're thinking or what they need or what they're expecting.
Well, thank you so very much.
No problem. So I am actually going to jump off. I have got to call Cindy back and put Kenna up. So thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed. Next time I will introduce my cats and some common outdoor animals kind of that you can find in your own backyard. So I will see you guys then.
Thank you, thank you. Well, you guys thank Victoria so very much, as well as we are at the end of our virtual summer experience. Unfortunately, for this week, we have reached our final conclusion of week 2 summer experience. I want to thank you all so very much for joining us, for partaking, for participating, asking those amazing questions, and you will be able to view both the morning and afternoon sessions on Councilwoman Cindy Wynn's YouTube page. We will have the link, the videos up there for you, as well as she'll publish the links on her Facebook page as well. So thank you guys again so much for watching. Hope you all have a blessed rest of the week, and hope to see each and every last one of you next week and next Monday on District E's virtual summer experience. Thank you all so much.